Welcome to Vanguards of Democracy. I'm Sean Shaw, and on today's episode, I will be joined by Thomas Brown, who founded Tampa Homeless Outreach. His nonprofit organization partners with local law enforcement to help get homeless veterans off the street. As a veteran himself, he has worked tirelessly for the last 10 years to make an impact on veteran homelessness in our community. But first, I had the honor to sit with Bishop Tom Scott, my good friend, to discuss challenges of balancing politics and religion. As a former city council person and a former county commissioner, and he's the pastor at 34th Street Church of God for over 30 years. Bishop Scott is well-versed in serving our Tampa community. Please stay tuned. Welcome to another episode of Vanguards of Democracy. This is Sean Shaw, and I'm here with a good friend of mine. I don't even know where to start. This is Bishop Tom Scott. And we're going to talk about a lot of different things today, Bishop, but I just want to say thank you for coming on. I know that you have a lot going on, but I've always been impressed with how you balance politics and religion. That's hard. Yeah. And so I wanted to get into that some, but I just want you to tell the people who don't know, I'm sure they do know, but just about kind of your journey to how you got where you are now and your church, and just give a little bio real quick for the people.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, of course.
It's my pleasure and joy to be here and share, and so thank you for the opportunity. And I actually came to Tampa in 1980, April 25th, 1980, from Jacksonville, Florida. Mm-hmm. I was in Jacksonville about 9 years as a parole and probation officer. I finished up at University of North Florida, and then came to Tampa to take a small church that was built like in 1923 with a tin roof, about 45, 50 people. And so when I got here, I recognized that there's a lot need to be done. In fact, when I came in Tampa in 1980, I think you only had one African-American elected official. I think that was A. Leon Lowry on the school board. Mm-hmm. And I think Perry Harvey came later on that year for city council. And then Reuben, I think Padgett was later elected county commission, I think a year or two later. But when I got here, that's what I encountered coming from actually Macon, Georgia, which had several African-American city council, county commissioners, and Macon is about 80 miles south of Atlanta, Georgia. So that my journey started coming to this church, building a whole new facility, building a school. And then I got involved with politics after Leon Lowry retired from the school board. Actually, I ran and lost about 200 votes against Doris Ross Reddy. Mm-hmm. So that was my journey into the political area. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And let's get into it now. You were on city council and county commission. Why'd you want to get in? Why'd you want to run for city council?
Well, if you go back, I started really with the school board. My interest was education. That's where my interest really was. I lost, like I said, actually in a runoff by 200 votes. Mm-hmm. Election was on a Thursday. I had never had an election on a Thursday. It's the first time, and it poured down rain, so I lost by 200 votes. And so that the next year, in 96, Sandra Wilson was on city council. Okay, and so she said she would announce she wasn't going to run. She called me in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I was playing golf with about 20 other preachers. Mm-hmm. And she said, I'm not running. And it's been laid on my heart to call you. She said, I think you'll make a great commissioner. And she said, give it some thought. And I did. And so I jumped in the race after talking to her and a few other people. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And talk about your time on the city council, because you were the head of it. You were on there a while. You did awesome things. Just talk about what it's like being on the city council, because, it's different when you're on the inside than what people think it is sometimes. And, people yelling and screaming about what you can and can't do. And then when you're there, you're like, well, damn, I can only do this. But
right.
Talk about being on the council.
Well, let me just say that my experience on the county commission really prepared me for city council. Mm-hmm. Okay. We have a strong form of government, mayor government.
Talk about both. Okay. Your experience on both.
Yeah. And so when I came over to city council, 2007, just went off county commission 2006, I was in for a rude awakening because at county commission, there were like 7 mayors, really. You had a lot of power. Decisions were made by the board. You get over to city council, a lot of your decisions are made by the mayor, because you have strong mayoral form of government. But there are a lot of things that you can do as an elected official, whether it's city council or whether it's county commission. For instance, when I got on city council, there was no WMBE ordinance that I worked and crafted and got passed through city council. When I came on city council, also we put together the last year, my year at county commission, the CRA, Community Redevelopment Area for East Tampa. It is one of the largest in the state that we drew. And we realized over $200 million in the life of that community redevelopment area in TIF. That had never been done before. And so we crafted that, created that, got that passed. And so we were able to accomplish a lot. Listen, 40th Street, I mean, $118, $120 million project, I was able to get done through the county commission and then ultimately through city council. So there's a lot of good things you could do for the community and for people. Now, I was just one of those person that love people. I'm out in the community talking, getting to meet people and find out what are your concerns, what are your issues, because that's what public service is all about.
I want to ask you something. Silver Oaks, you've heard about what's going on there? The Silver Oaks and the kind of the conditions.
Yeah, right.
I want to ask you about that because, as both of us that have served in office before, it is immensely frustrating to me to see what those people are going through. And what they keep getting told is, well, so-and-so going to write a letter, so-and-so going to do this, another person going to do this. Then is there anything that someone on the city council or on the county commission can what would you do? How about that? If you were on one of those things and someone came to you and said, I'm living in with feces coming down the wall and mold making my kids sick over here at Silver Oaks.
Well, first of all, that's unacceptable. In today's time, that's unacceptable. Secondly, there's too many political powerful people in this community to allow that to exist.
Yes.
You got a strong mayor form of government, you got the county commission, and you got city council. There's no reason why those three entities, those three agencies cannot come together with the housing authority, whoever, and be able to demand that something be done. I mean, it's a matter of stop passing the buck. Nobody should live in those kind of conditions. Nobody should have to deal with it.
It's just frustrating to me. I want to ask you, first of all, your church is one of my favorite to go visit whenever I'm on my rotation. I love it because y'all's music.
Yeah.
That's what I'm about. I love you too, preach, but the music I love, right? I love it.
Yeah.
And, but I always ask pastors this because some pastors, they don't let any politician speak. Some they will just recognize, and some will let you actually get up there. What do you allow and why? Kind of what's your personal preference and what's behind that? I always find it interesting.
It is, how should I say this? Tampa is a very interesting city, unique. When I came to Tampa from Macon, Georgia, I was accustomed to church being involved. The civil rights movement, politically having people get elected, governors and all that. Bill Randall, William P. Randall, who was very active in the civil rights movement, county commission there in Georgia. And so our church there in Macon was used to being engaged, used to getting the vote out, used to being involved in politics, used to having elected official or candidate come to our church. And so when I came to Tampa, it was a little different. You didn't have the clergy out front when I came. Mainly you had other civic activists who was out front. And so so when I came to Tampa, it was a new environment and a new learning experience as how the church functioned, how the pastors functioned, and so forth. But when I got engaged in the political area, in the political arena, I wanted to make sure that my congregation was educated about who's running for public office. And so one way of doing that, because as you know, the largest gathering of African Americans is on Sunday morning. Has always been, always will be, and is today. Even with the pandemic, one of the largest gathering we're going to have is on Sunday morning in the Black church, in the African American church. And so what a better way to educate your congregants okay, about what is happening politically. And so when someone come to my church, now churches who are 501c3 cannot endorse a candidate, okay? So I cannot get up in the pulpit and say, I'm endorsing Sean Shaw.
Well, you could. Just because it's me, brother, but go ahead.
But I can invite you to come to my church and say, hey, educate my congregation about who you are. And it's what you've done in the past. And, other candidates. We just had a judge with us on last Sunday, I think it was, So I just believe that that's a way of informing and educating the congregants, the voters, about who the candidates are. Otherwise, they don't really get a chance to know who they are, unless they're sending out mail flyers or something like that.
So I agree with everything you said, and it is you do this too, which is what I love. It's not just let candidates get up there and talk about their campaigns. It is to talk about voter registration and talk about issues and talk about other stuff, which is important, rather than just letting them get up there and talk about it. And that is another thing I like about your stuff.
We'll give them a time frame, 2 to 3 minutes, and say, hey, we want you to inform the congregants. And so, about not only your platform, but also it's important to vote. It's important to register. It's important to get the message out to other people.
We were talking about this before we got on. It's about kind of the state of politics these days. And you're someone who's been in it a long time. You were in local government. We were talking about this, where you can actually get stuff done. And I was, in the Tallahassee stuff where it's just Republican versus Democrat. And our politics these days have gotten so bad.
Yeah.
And so toxic.
Yeah.
What do you think about the state of politics, and have you seen it change over the years?
Oh my
to get
God,
kind of where it is now?
Compared to when I came in 1996 to where we are today, it's a complete reversal. When I was on the county commission and city council, I worked with Republicans. It wasn't this fussing and fighting all day long trying to get something done. In fact, believe it or not, I had more support from Republicans on the county commission than I did the Democrats. So I was able to bridge that gap and be able to work across the aisle, and were able to get a whole lot done for my district, because at the end of the day, I've been elected by the people of my district to represent them and to, as some people say from Tyler, to bring home the bacon.
Right.
Okay. And to make my community better. And so I was able to work across the aisle to get that done. Now today, that's a whole different story. I have no desire to go to Tallahassee. I have no desire to serve in the legislature nor the Senate there in Tallahassee. Local government to me is really where it is. If you really want to make a difference, I think it's local government, county commission, city council, the mayor's office. Some of those kinds of positions is where the action is.
No, I've changed my mind to agree with you now. I used to, because I had the Tallahassee background. I always wanted to go to Tallahassee, and you get even when I was there, it's worse than I was there in 2018. It's 10 times worse now. And it's only been a few years, but it's at least local government. You can address a problem and fix it.
Right.
And you don't have to give all these speeches about your party versus their party. Right. Now, I'm a Democrat and I'm a strong Democrat, but I still want to get stuff done rather than just give speeches about why the other side is bad.
Right.
And I find you can't do that in the legislature.
Well, that's what being a public servant is all about. It is about helping your community, bettering your community, making people's lives better, getting things done. And so you like me, I have to feel like I'm accomplishing something. Just to hold a seat,
I know.
I'm not
and
interested
just to give
in that.
a speech, no.
I'm not interested in that. That's not me. I have to feel like I'm accomplishing something. I have to feel like I'm making a difference in the lives of my constituents and the lives of the people that I serve. So it's that's what I'm about.
I agree. And this area, the one that I represent in the legislature, is one of the poorest in the state. And I'd go to Tallahassee and I'd get frustrated, like, why am I giving this speech? And I can't make a vote because all my votes gonna fail.
Right. Yep.
Because I'm in the wrong party. And it was just frustrating to me.
That is so true.
It was frustrating. I want to talk. You are the head of a coalition of pastors.
Right.
What's it called?
Tampa Bay Coalition of Clergy.
Okay. Tell me, because I know we got Pastors on Patrol, we got your group, and there are groups doing good things.
Right.
And I want to know kind of what made you kind of bring pastors together in this coalition, and what kind of things do y'all do?
Well, we're working more now with the Pastors on Patrol together doing some things, but again, going back, some of it had to do with with my involvement in the political arena. You had another group who primarily just wanted to pray. I want to do more than just pray, because the Bible says faith without action is dead. Okay,
Right.
So you can pray all you want, but if there's no action behind that,
Right.
and so we brought a group of pastors together, about 38, some of your most influential, prominent African American church, about 38 of them, and so we got together and decided that we were going to look at what's important for our community: education, economic development. Okay, we saw those as being very important for us. Healthcare, those kinds of issues, and so we kind of formed a four-legged stool, and so here are the issues that we're going to work on. If they're in these four areas, that's what we're going to work on. That's what we're going to give our energy to, and so that's what we did.
Well, I brought it up because I want to make sure people know that.
Yeah,
because oftentimes you will hear, ain't nobody doing nothing on this, and the preachers ain't doing this, and the elected officials ain't doing it. And the NAACP ain't doing this. I want people to know things are being done.
Right.
There are groups doing things.
That's
just
true.
because
That's true.
You don't hear about it all the time doesn't mean it's not getting done. In fact, sometimes you can do more when it ain't on the front page of everything.
That's exactly. Sometimes people think the only way you're doing something is standing in front of the camera, hollering, screaming, cussing, and making a lot of noise. See, to me, if your community is not being improved,
right,
all you're doing is grandstanding.
Right.
So I want to know, what are you doing behind the scene? And that's one of the things I did, even as elected official. A lot of time I was said to the county administrator, I said, listen, you and I would never have a public problem if behind the scenes we are working together to make sure that my issues are getting resolved with my constituent, my community. And so a lot of time it's not about being in front of the camera. It's not about hollering and screaming. It's not about cussing and fussing on the news. But what am I accomplishing behind the scene that I'm quietly getting done? And if you go back and look on my record, I think we got a great record for really getting things done in District 3 and in District 5.
I want to ask you a question, you've sort of answered it, but when a candidate comes to you and says, Bishop, you're someone that everyone tells me I need to call, I want to run for office. What advice do you give that person, and what makes you either support or not support? What are you looking for in that candidate to say, you know what, I think I could get behind that person because they've done X, Y, Z or shown me? What advice you give, and what makes you support them?
First question I ask, why do you want to run? That's a very important. Why are you running? Okay, why do you want to be an elected official? Okay, I think not only why do you want to run, but secondly, what are going to be your goals? What's your platform? What are you trying to accomplish? Third question I ask is, who's supporting you? Who's behind you? I think you have to look at all those kinds of questions and talk to a candidate. And then you look at, you got to tell them, you got to raise a lot of money. In today's time, you got to raise a lot of money. I think I was looking at Ken Hagan's thing the other day. I think he raised about $500,000, man.
For county commission.
For county commission. Yes, sir. That's a lot of money, So I share with them. One is, you're going to have to spend a lot of time and energy. You're going to have to knock on a lot of doors, make a lot of phone calls. You're going to have to hire a consultant. So you need money for all that, man, And then, then I look at their personality.
Yeah.
Are you approachable? Can I approach you? Can I talk to you? Can I share my concerns and my issue with you? See, all that's important when you talk about running for public office.
What are you? So they've answered all that, is there anything that you're looking for? Like, what's most important to you? Because I know when people come to me, I'm most interested in your kind of community record.
Right, that's the other thing.
I don't want your record to be, the first time community knows you is as a candidate. I don't necessarily like that. You got to have been putting in a little work, and I like to know what that is.
Now, what have you been doing before now you announce your candidacy?
You can't do it now.
That's right. What have you been involved in the community? How have you helped this community? I agree 100%. If you're now just not coming out just to run for public office,
I don't like it.
No, you kind of late.
Right. You wait another cycle and do something, but I don't like the jumping in when you haven't had a kind of a record in the community.
And not only that, but if you lose the first time out, you can't go back in your closet now. You should stay out there, continue to work,
listen,
with the community.
I've lost and I
have too.
And you got to cut the day after, not the day, but the next Sunday after I lost, I went to church.
Yep.
And I thought that was the most important thing I did. If I look back on my political career, it was really that decision where I was like, you know what? Like, life goes on, and let's just get this out.
Well, you came back to thank people for voting for you.
And people are looking to see how you react to a loss.
That's right.
Because that's your real personality.
That's right.
You win, everybody happy.
Yep.
Everybody jumping for joy, but you lose. People are looking to see how you lose.
That's right. They see how you handle that. Mm-hmm. And so when you come back to thank people, man, they remember that the next time.
Yes.
See, they remember that the next time. Mm-hmm. And so that's very critical, very important. So you're right. So what have you been doing in the community? What have you been doing? Right. You know, you can't just decide the day I'm going to run for public office and haven't done anything, in the community.
No, and listen, running for office is hard. I tell people the same thing you're doing. Like, listen, it ain't ribbon cuttings and getting first in line and getting recognized when you walk. That's not what it is. It is 90% of it is getting screamed at by either your colleagues or your constituents about what you ain't doing.
Well, one of the things you have to keep in mind is you're going to have, especially when you become an elected official, you have a whole lot of new friends that are not your friends. Okay? You have a whole lot of people, all of a sudden they're your friend, but they're really not your friend. Right. Okay? You have to understand that. And then you have to surround yourself with people who have your best interests at heart. That's one thing I try to do, surround myself with people who was engaged in the community, had an ear to the community, and kept me abreast and kept me informed, and recognized that everybody who said they were my friend was not my friend.
And you need people to tell you when you're messing up.
Right. You need people
to tell you. And I got too many of them, but you need people to call you and say, this ain't going over well. Right. Or you need to be here. Or you need to do this. You're not doing enough of this.
Right. But in any leadership position, John Maxwell says leadership is influence. Okay. Yeah. And John Maxwell says he who's leading and nobody's following him said they're just taking a walk. That's all they're doing. Okay. If you don't have nobody following you. So leadership is influence. Leadership is being out front and making things happen. And so that's very important, like you said, and having people around you who can tell you the truth about who you are and what you're trying to accomplish. So you need those kind of people who be genuine and who can, really share with you.
Well, that's why I wanted you on this episode, because you're a spiritual leader, political leader, all that, civic leader here in Tampa, Bishop. I wanted this. I knew this was going to be good. So I want to thank you for coming on. I know we got a picture here for you to sign and go on the Wall of Fame there.
All right.
But I appreciate you joining us. And
that's a great list.
Oh yeah. You in high cotton there, brother. So we thank you for joining us today, Bishop Scott, and thank you. Welcome to another episode of Vanguards of Democracy. I'm your host, Sean. I'm here today with Thomas Brown, and we're going to talk about a few cool things that he does in the community. I want to thank you for coming in today, Mr. Brown. Just tell the audience a little bit about yourself and what do you do in the community?
Okay, I'm a proud veteran, special ops for 10 years. Served over in Europe and several different places in the States. When I first got out of the military, I went to work for DOC as a correction officer, then as a deputy, and a forensic specialist for the state. And I found my niche as far as getting homeless veterans off the street. That's what I do.
It's probably obvious to you, but I want the audience to hear more about what inspired you to do that specific thing and to give back in that specific way with regard to homeless veteran outreach.
It's odd because I was asked that question this morning by one of my peers, and I couldn't answer it.
You can answer it, brother.
What inspired me to do that? I'm a disabled vet myself, and I have a lot of friends that's vets. Of course, I'm a biker, and a lot of bikers are vets. And I saw some of the things that they were going through and navigating through the VA system, and ran to quite a few homeless. And I'm like, sounds like something I might want to do. And the opportunity arose in 2011. Yeah, 2011, September 2011. I had the opportunity to start as a veteran outreach coordinator. And it's been great since then. It's the best job. As a matter of fact, I don't even consider it working.
I mean, that's 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's been a while.
What exactly do you do to help?
I do. Well, first off, I have partnerships with the Sheriff's Office, Temple Terrace PD, Tampa PD, the local law enforcement. When they get a homeless vet, they'll give me a call and I'll meet up with them and do my best to get them off the street.
There are some resources out there. I know it's hard to know. It's hard for the person themselves to know what the resources are. I bet you know how to connect them to the resources. Talk a little bit about what resources are out there.
Well,
for a homeless vet.
Well, anybody that's a veteran and try to navigate the VA system know that it could be a challenge. So I have a lot of partnerships within the VA, and we work together. The main thing for me is convincing them that this is good for them, because a lot of the vets, especially older vets, Vietnam vets, and older vets don't trust the VA.
Right.
I'm just being honest with you.
Right.
They just don't trust the VA system, and they shy away from it. So I took on the position as convincing them that it's good for them. VA healthcare is better than no healthcare at all, and it's changed over the years, of course, for the better. I connect them. My first goal is to connect them with a transitional housing or a veteran shelter so that they're in a safe place, the idle weather and so forth. I use New Beginnings of Tampa. I use Salvation Army, and there's several other landlords that I connect them with for what we call transitional housing.
How long does transitional last, and then what's next after that?
Transitional is up to the vet. For transitional housing, you have to have money. Okay, to get into a veteran shelter, you don't. It's paid for by the VA. So get more people in the shelter when beds are available than transitional housing. I have a card from my agency, from my nonprofit, that I could put them in the hotels.
Right.
In the past, well, every day, there's families sleeping in cars, single moms in cars with small kids, and can't move their car because they don't have gas. So I'm allowed to, well, I can put them in a hotel for a few nights while I connect them with an agency that can help them through the VA program called Supportive Services for Veterans and Families. The acronym is SSVF.
All right, Mr. Brown, talk more about some of the partners you work with, some of the organizations. You talked about the Sheriff's Office, police departments. Talk about some of the organizations that you partner with.
Okay. Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office has a homeless initiative, and I think it's maybe 10 deputies in different districts. When they get a homeless person, they'll contact me and I'll meet up with the deputy. As a matter of fact, I make it a priority so we don't keep them tied up with the homeless person.
Homeless person, period, or a vet?
Homeless veteran.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Because that's where my focus is
Right.
on veterans. And there are other programs for homeless, but I concentrate on veterans. I'm on the Hillsborough County Homeless Committee, which a lot of other nonprofits are involved. It's a community committee, and we have quarterly. We have these what we call outreach gatherings, where the homeless from in the county could come out, and we provide clothes. They serve them lunch. They different services, all different kind of services, and that's for not only veterans, it's for any homeless person. And I think we have one coming up the end of next month. I don't know the exact date, but that's what we do, and that's it.
You know the answer to this better than most, and I'm going to ask you because politicians and people in charge. How do we help solve the homelessness issue? how do we reduce how many people are out there that are homeless? Some people will say X, some people will say Y. How do you think we fix this or we make it better?
I think it's the second part of your question I could answer a lot better than the first one, because I think there's always going to be homelessness because of the nature of people,
right?
Not trusting the system per se. The biggest thing, especially in Hillsborough County, is emergency shelters and housing,
Not
affordable
enough.
housing.
Just not enough.
Well, we only have 2 in Hillsborough County. And a county this size, in my humble opinion, is not enough, nowhere near enough.
Right.
And the beds stay full when it's cold. The bed stays full when it's hot, as it is now. It's hard to get a bed unless somebody get put out for
Well,
doing
and
stuff.
all this matters. Florida is the least affordable state to live in the country. Tampa is one of the least affordable places in Florida to live,
Right.
which means that Tampa is one of the least affordable places in the country to live. And that just doesn't mean I got to pay a lot in rent, or I got to pay. That means you might not be able to pay rent at all.
Exactly.
And someone, you're paying $1,000, your landlord comes and say it's $1,500 now, and you can't do it. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. And since the moratorium, that's gone way up as far as people getting put out because they can't afford the new rent. And daily, we have people coming from all over the United States coming to Florida, especially veterans, because we're lucky enough to have 2 VAs here, one in Pinellas and one here. So a lot of people come to this area, especially veterans, and they come here with no money or anything.
And I know these veterans listen to you and probably trust you more than someone who's not a veteran themselves, right? You're able to talk to them and get them to kind of trust you and say, look, I'm trying to point you to the right place. After kind of transitional housing and you've got the housing situation somewhat addressed, what's next? Is it healthcare? Is it a job, or is it what are you looking for next after you get them situated and out of the 90-degree, 95-degree heat?
Well, the healthcare comes in up front. There's a decision you have to make when you're talking to somebody. I had someone yesterday that has a TBI, a traumatic brain injury. He wanted to live alone. He wanted to live by himself. Right now he's living with someone. And he needs to get out. And he's got a lot of other things. And he wants to live by himself. He honestly want to do that. But like I asked him yesterday, what does your doctor say? Because as a veteran, we're proud people, and we want to stand on our own. You want to stand on your own. You want to do the right thing. But in reality, if an assisted living facility would be better for you, then that's where you need to go. A lot of people don't like, because of conversation with other people, they assume an ALF and a nursing home is the same thing, or a rehab facility the same thing, which is not.
You know, and I'm not going to make you comment on this, but I'll say it because you might not want to say it. But the community, I think, has a big heart when it comes to knowing these resources need to be out there. The problem is when a facility that serves the homeless is right in your neighborhood, sometimes people get a little iffy, and they don't want everyone around in their neighborhood, but they do think we need to have this. I just don't want it here. I want it over there. And we got to do better, I think, where that's concerned. And like you said, we need to have more of these, more resources out there.
Yes, and it just need to be done. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to attack homelessness and you're going to be, in my opinion, not taking this from anybody else, if you want to be serious about getting homeless people off the street, find a place for them, like a dilapidated motel. Okay, if the county could buy that place, or city or whoever buy that place and put homeless vets in there and staff it, but then that costs money too to staff it 24 hours. So that's it's just going to keep going.
Yeah, no, I agree. Let's switch a little bit now to Suncoast Brotherhood. Tell me what that is and how you got involved and all that good stuff.
Suncoast Brotherhood is it's a biker organization. It's not a motorcycle club. It's not a club. It's a organization. We do Christmas rides every year for to get toys and stuff for kids, and so does my nonprofit. My nonprofit, Tampa Homeless Outreach. I've been doing this for like 8 years. I'm switching subject just for a second.
No, you're good. You're good.
Tampa Homeless Outreach. About 8 years now, we've been we solicit families in need, mostly veteran families. But if they're not veteran families, we solicit them, and we put it out for like 2 weeks. The first part of December, we put out that we're soliciting families and a wish list. Once we collect that wish list, normally the week of Christmas, we go shopping. But I also put out on my Facebook. I put on my Facebook, and people adopt these families. Okay, I don't put the names out. Okay, because of privacy, I just put out family number 1. 3 kids, these are the ages, and 1 parent, male or female, so that they can get stuff for them. And initially when we started, we were paying for everything. So over the years, we started putting it out on Facebook, and people adopt them like that. And then the day that we deliver, it's mostly bikes, but it's a lot of cars now too, that we go through the community, and we go to that house and give the kids the toys, and they're wrapped, so they don't know what they are. The day before Christmas.
That's gotta be cool.
A few days before Christmas.
Cool.
That's
Families
my best
gotta
time
be
of the year.
To see all y'all drive up.
And it's a lot of motorcycles.
Yeah, that's gotta be great.
It's a lot.
What are the things that they ask for the most? Like on that list? Is it gifts for kids, or is it socks, or is it?
No, it's gifts for the kids. Yeah, we do sock drives maybe twice or 3 times a year.
Right.
And socks is the biggest thing that homeless people need.
Yeah, I've heard that, which was surprising to me when I heard that.
Socks and T-shirts. Yeah.
How'd you get involved in this effort?
Tampa Homeless Outreach?
No, the bike.
Oh, I've been riding bikes since I was 15, and I'm 69 now.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll be 70 in November.
And how'd you? I'm not going to ask why. What is the passion that drives you to do all this giving back? Because, this is above and beyond what is normal. You think it's normal because you do it every day. I think it's normal, yes. It ain't.
Yeah.
It's above and beyond. What got you here?
Yeah. I just like helping people. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Always?
Always.
Always been like that?
Well, when I became an adult. When I was a teenager, I never got in trouble, but I was always on the edge.
Right, weren't we all? But I mean, this is between the biking and between the homeless thing, this is a lot that you do for the community. And
but that's not all I do.
What else?
I was assistant state captain for Patriot Guard Riders.
Mm-hmm. Talk about it.
We do motorcycle escorts for fallen veterans, law enforcement, and firefighters. When I first started as the assistant state captain, I covered from Ocala all the way down to Key West. That was my area.
And what does that mean you actually do? In all funerals, or like what do you do?
Well, they have to go online to patriotguard.org and request us to be there. What we do is we provide motorcycle escorts from the airport to the funeral home if they come in through the airport. Mm-hmm. KIAs, when they come in through MacDill, we escort them to the funeral home.
And the family requests it? Or
the family requests it,
okay,
yeah.
Go ahead.
And then we escort from the funeral home to the cemetery. So we do that final ride for them. Mm-hmm. So I've been doing that since 2006. That's
heavy.
It's a lot,
That's
but
heavy.
The families really appreciate it. And whether it's raining, whether it's cold or whatever, as a Patriot Guard rider, you got a mission to do.
I would tell you, no matter how upset you might be with politics or what's going on in the city or whatever's going on in your life, when you see that motorcade coming through, you stop and you pay attention. It makes you think about what that person sacrificed when you see your motorcade happening.
Yeah, most people do.
Yeah,
'Cause
well-
there's some people out there that just want to get in the middle of it, just to get in the middle of it.
Yeah.
So, and normally we had a sheriff's office that help us out with that.
Right.
Pinellas and Hillsborough, or local law enforcement, depending on where we're going.
I want to go back to Suncoast just for a little bit. We're wrapping up here. But do you? I saw something about safety and advocating for any changes to motorcycle laws. Do you monitor that and make sure y'all are involved if someone's talking about changing anything when it comes to motorcycles?
That's what Suncoast Brotherhood is all about. It's motorcycle rights organization. So we have people that's on the legislative committee who deal with local government as well as state government, to have some input from the biker perspective on things. So that's what it's pretty much all about.
Right. Anything, because I don't know, but I mean, I used to be in the legislature, but anything recent that has happened that's affected y'all, or because I wouldn't know. This is what is really interesting about when you're elected. I don't know. I would depend, if it was a law coming up by motorcycles, I would hope someone like you came up to me and said, Sean, this is not good.
Yeah.
Because I don't ride bikes. I do need to know.
Yeah.
I would need to know.
And I don't get into politics.
Well,
and
I wish I didn't either, brother.
I really don't, because I don't want to put myself in that position.
Yes, sir.
But we have two guys that does the legislative for Suncoast Brotherhood, and they're really good.
Right.
And they know a lot of people in Tallahassee and a lot of the local government.
We want you to keep doing what you're doing. Don't worry about Tallahassee.
I love what I do.
I love it, brother.
I really do.
I appreciate you coming on. I want to tell you this too. When it comes time to adopt a family, I hope that you will reach back out to me.
If that's what you like.
And one, not only will I adopt, but this firm's going to do something with regard to your programs. Because that is just, I always say, I like people that are doing good in the community because it's the right thing to do, not because the picture you're going to get in the paper, not because who's on the letterhead, or not because I always gravitate to people just doing good day after day. And you're one of those people, brother, and reach back out to me when it's time, and I'd love to help.
I sure will. We also do Thanksgiving too.
Reach out.
Yeah.
I'd love to. Tell me about Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving, we do the same thing. We put out a list, and different agencies, we ask the case managers if they have people with special needs for Thanksgiving, or don't have family or whatever, and they'll give us a list. We'll put that list together, and we'll make a route. We'll get food donated, and my organization buy a lot of the food, and we take our motorcycle,
right,
and we'll go deliver them with big trucks and stuff.
We're going to see if not only that I'm able to do it and this firm's able to, I'm going to see if my fraternity is willing to partner with you. I bet they would, and get involved in that. You
can go to my Facebook page, because we have a website, but it's being redone right now. But on my Facebook page, you'll see all the things that we do. Right. And I think you'll be impressed.
Well, I'm already impressed, brother. I'm going to get involved, and we're going to help you out some more. But I appreciate it. Thomas Brown, you heard all that. That's a lot of good stuff happening in the community. And, man, I appreciate you coming on. Thank you.
It's all good. Thank you for having me.
Of Democracy is funded and produced by Vanguard Attorneys, a local personal injury law firm serving the Tampa Bay area with ingenuity and an indomitable work ethic. Don't forget to follow Vanguards of Democracy on YouTube, or download episodes on your favorite podcast streaming services like iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And lastly, we're excited to announce that we're launching our new landing page, www.vanguardsofdemocracy.com, where you'll be able to ask questions, recommend guests or topics, and stay up to date with news and announcements. It'll be great. If you know how to bookmark a website, this is the one that'll make it worth it. Thank you.